Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another show of Inspirate Business. We are now about 2 weeks away from the national elections. All of us remember 1994, for those of you who do remember, 1994 with the excitement of the new democracy. Well, this elections, 30 years later, is as important as that particular elections in 1994. We are at a precipice as a country. The decisions we make going forward will change the trajectory of this country and how important it is. In light of that, I have somebody very special in studio, somebody who represents the Sun Party, Sizwe Umma Nation. Welcome to the Inspirate Business Show, Rasheed Gutta.
Assalamu alaikum, Yusuf, and greetings to the viewers. Thanks for having me.
Yes, now Rasheed, you and I have interacted a lot over the last couple of months. Just a rider, Rasheed and I were at Wits University way back. We talked about 94, what, maybe 33, 34 years ago. At that time, we didn't really know each other, but we were on West Campus.
Yes.
You did a BCom.
Did a BCom.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Sizwe Umma Nation, a new party, your role there, what made you join Sizwe Umma Nation. But as we do with all guests on this red hot couch, we want to know your background. Where did it all start? I believe you are a Northwest boy, right?
Yes.
Mahikeng or Mahikeng.
Mahikeng,
yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I come from Mahikeng, which was part of the homeland, in the 70s and 80s. So there was
Botswana. Right.
Under Lucas Mangope. I was fortunate that I was in that period where there was a tremendous amount of growth because a lot of money was being poured there. So they created the Bob TV, they created the airport, international airport, the Bob recording studios. So
was this all in Mabatu?
All in Mahikeng, Mabatu, yes.
Okay.
But what was the biggest benefit is that I went to a multiracial school, which was one of the first of its kind in our country, where we mixed with all different ethnic groups.
What was the name of that school?
The name of the school was Mabatu High School. And it was encouraged by the homeland to integrate. And I think that set a very good platform for us, where we could debate freely, where neighboring South Africa was apartheid and everybody was separated, you couldn't talk. But in Mahikeng, we felt a great sense of freedom, which wasn't experienced everywhere else.
I mean, that's very powerful because, you take South Africa today and we're still struggling with this social cohesion, the different races trying to create this, a cohesion between the various demographics. Now, you were fortunate to be with all different races, different faiths, and that must be quite unique.
Yeah, even our teachers, they encouraged us to debate about religion as well. So we could express our religion freely. It wasn't like, in South Africa, they were pushing the Christianity religion. There we had the freedom to talk. So it was a great opportunity. We learned a lot. Our minds broadened. Whereas here in South Africa, you had this narrow vision. But there we were allowed to read any books and all of that, So,
were there lots of kids that came from other parts of the country, or was it just mainly from the Northwest?
Yeah, so many people in South Africa who felt that they didn't have opportunities for their children, the parents who could afford it, they sent their children to Mabatu to come and learn. And many of them, they became very successful in politics, in business, so they benefited immensely. Whereas in South Africa, at the time, you had the Soweto riots and you had this very unstable schooling, So they gained by coming there.
And you must be still having strong bonds with these friends that were with you in school.
Yes, we meet, we were in university, but it's great to see all of them, they've been very successful.
So you matriculate at Mabatu High, this private school that has the broader demographics represented. It's also a co-ed school.
Yes, it's also a co-ed. And also it had the JMB, the Joint Matriculation Board,
All
which
right.
was the schools were doing it. This was a public school encouraged by the government.
Okay, good, good, good. So you then matriculate and you come to Johannesburg. You at Wits. That's where I said
We met,
we
yeah.
knew each other from Wits days, right? You at now the what year was that?
So we started in 89 till
Right.
92 was a 4-year course to do a BCom. I always knew that my dad had a furniture business in Mahikeng, so I was always destined for that. But he sent me to the university to get a better understanding and education in terms of commerce so that I could apply it if I go back home.
And you majored in?
I majored in business economics and accounting.
Right. So you spent 4 years at Wits.
Yes.
Right. And then what happens after that? Do you get into corporate world or?
No, so my dad always groomed me from the time I was young to take over from his business. He was a visionary in his business and ahead of its time. So when I came back to Mahikeng and I spent the rest of my time there until 2000. He was encouraging me to travel. So I used to go to places like Germany, to Dubai.
So this is as part of the family business?
Yes, there's a furniture retail business.
I know what it was called?
Yusuf's.
Okay.
So he encouraged me to go out and look for opportunities. So I went to Germany, I went to Dubai, and I went to China. And where I actually found a lot of niche products that wasn't manufactured in South Africa and not available. So I was fortunate that I got to China at a time when they were just starting up. So not many South Africans were going there. So we found a niche product in terms of bedroom suites and
so this is what,
suites.
around the early 2000s?
So 2000 is exactly when I went there. And China was, nobody knew. They weren't speaking about China. They were closed to many countries for a long time. So when I went there, not many people went there. So what I managed to successfully do is find a product that appealed to the South African consumer market. But the other advantage was that when I brought it in a knockdown fashion. So I could be able to put in a lot more in the container. And when it came here, I had to assemble it.
Okay.
I didn't actually plan for it. Due to the language barrier, there was a misunderstanding. But that was the biggest windfall because that allowed us to now look at it. And when I employed the assemblers to actually make this product, I realized that for them it was very easy to make. They were all factory workers, but they were looking for jobs because factories began to start closing down.
Well, this was in the 2000s?
In the 2000s, yeah.
In China?
No, in South Africa when I brought it here.
Okay.
So it was easy for them
So
to
you
assemble
created
an assembly plant.
Right.
Where I employed workers. So I was creating employment in that respect.
So you'd bring these parts together and then come here and then you would assemble it at your factory. And this was in Mahikeng?
No, in Johannesburg.
All
By
right.
that time, I went to Johannesburg. That was around 2002, where I developed the knockdown
So
product.
what they call backward integration. So you start off in the retail segment, and then now you're starting to get into some sort of manufacturing.
Yeah, you see, to be able to bring in the volumes, you need to be wholesaling it. So our retail business wasn't big enough. So we started to wholesale it initially to independent retailers. But when it became successful, we got approached by the chain stores, the big chains, and they saw that this product could sell well. And one of the people we sold it to was a chain store called Ginn and Richards. And, they specialized into that middle to upper segment of the population. So that enabled us to really exponentially grow because of the scale, and then we get a better pricing, we become more efficient. And
I mean, this is a true form of what they call black economic empowerment, which is what the intention was. But it's organically grown black economic empowerment, not just a fronting of some sort,
Yeah, I know you were adding value to society. The other thing is that, like, China provided an equalization opportunity. If you look at the European countries, they had like specific exclusivity with the big companies. So when we came in here, we were small. We came from small background, But China allowed us to be able to grow. They supplied us. They weren't exclusive. And that's what enabled us to grow.
So that was quite an experience. Now, that business still exists,
That business was called Rigat Marketing.
right?
We transformed it from an import business into a manufacturing business in the later years.
Full-on manufacturing.
In 2016, yeah. We
Okay.
can talk.
Yeah.
No, so as we became well known, you know, with the import business, we were selling to everyone in this country. But at the same time, the country started to deteriorate, where the currency was starting to fall, and our costs started to rise. So we reached a point in 2013 and 14 where the currency was dropping. All other competitors went into the market, so they all went to China. The retailers we were selling to. So we couldn't sustain that business forever. We knew it. So the only way to add value now and remain in the supply chain was to become a manufacturer. So it was a natural progression. But what accelerated it was the deteriorating currency. And so by me looking at how they used to produce in China, I gained a lot of experience. And when I came here, then I started to do it gradually. And the idea was to now replicate what China was making in South Africa. And I came to realize that, you know, we should be doing the same thing because that's how this country emerged out of poverty, is through industrialization.
Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about industrialization, about this manufacturing, and how you get then into politics, because I want to understand how you pivoted from all of this and some tremendous knowledge you have into politics immediately after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, and on our red hot couch, sponsored by Aza Collective, looking very smart, by the way, Rasheed Gutta of the Sun Party, Sizwe Umma Nation. Now, Rasheed was telling us about his life growing up in the Northwest and his schooling and the experiences that he's had, and then going to China, and then because of factors beyond his control, then gets into manufacturing. Now, what the question that one may ask is that you go to China and you learn, I mean, you were at a time when China was still in 2000 was at the bottom of their growth. I mean, what has happened in the last 24 years in China is remarkable. You know, tell us a little bit about that experience.
You know, China at that time was around 80th in the world economy, around in the 80s. And towards 2008 and 9, it became the second largest economy. There's a saying that China did in 25 years what took Europe 200 years to do.
Wow.
So that was a marvelous achievement. I was privileged because I witnessed this Chinese revolution, which is similar to the Industrial Revolution. And you wonder now, how did they do it in such a short time? And the answer is very simple. Success is not a secret. You know, their reformer called Deng Xiaoping, who took over from Mao Zedong, who gave them their liberation. He came to the realization that, you know, this cultural revolution and Maoism wasn't working. So he went to travel the world. He went to the West and he saw what success is. And they went and just replicated the concept of what happened through history, but with changing certain things for the Chinese characteristics. So that's how they did it. And if you take South Africa in 1994, it was an industrialized country when the Afrikaners gave it over. It contributed, manufacturing contributed 32% to the GDP. But due to policies that have been instilled now, with accepting China and all these other countries, our manufacturing has declined to only like 12% of the GDP. So that's why we're having this major unemployment. It's a self-inflicted crisis, actually. We have the mineral resources in this country. We have the raw materials.
We have the
but
steel.
we're exporting it to a country that was so poor, where like in 1976, 11 million people were starving, you know. So they took it, they processed it into the finished product, and they sold it back to us. And here we are, in such a high debt scenario. We're importing more than what we exporting, and we've got all the resources here, and we've had the skills here. So that's the tragedy, and that's kind of what showed me when I went to China. So I learned from how this country evolved. Now, not only did they do that, but they technologically they went and started making airplanes. They started making cars. They got the fastest trains. I mean, today they are the leading technology in bullet trains, which go up to 300 kilometers an hour, where all cities are now interconnected. They've got subways. So imagine where they were.
I believe they're saying by soon they'll have 70% of their vehicles will be all electric.
Yeah, I was just reading that article the other day. While we're struggling here to provide basic services and load shedding, they're going to be selling, like this year, they're going to sell about 20 million electric cars. So they're discouraging people using the, engine, the petrol engines and going to the
yeah, with new age technologies, yeah, being green. So you get inspired by this. Yeah. Now the big question one may ask is, you go there, you learn about China, you implementing it here to your manufacturing business, but right there is a T-shirt that you're wearing called the Sun Party, right? Which stands for Sizwe Umma Nation. Now, what makes a businessman successful, pretty comfortable? What makes you get into politics?
You see, from the experience that I learned when I went to China, if you take a comparison in driving in a car, when you're moving forward at a speed, you see the rest of the landscape go behind you. I used to see that. I go to China, we're accelerating, we come back and we're moving backwards here. And I'm questioning, why does it have to be this way? So I took on a project where I wrote a paper and a proposed solution for the country. What lessons can South Africa learn from China's political past and subsequent economic growth? Where I used my own business as a case study. And I referred to books from China and South Africa and drew comparisons on similarities and differences between the two countries, where they were both colonized. They went through similar, history. And
There's
how can we
also
apply
this
it
poverty
now?
that China had a big problem, right?
Yes.
Rural communities. We also have the same challenges here right now.
Yeah. I mean, they had 1.5 billion people. That's 1,500 million. And we only have 60 million people. So how were they able to come out of this and we still stuck and getting worse? So that's what continued to keep me awake at night. Although my business was continuing, we could see that as the years have gone by, you can see that the business is getting worse, is declining. I mean, we're getting poorer here with our currency. It's a disincentive. So I decided to present the solutions. In 2018, I met with the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, and I gave him these solutions because I felt that, if I write articles to news publishers and newspapers and give it to government, the Minister of Finance, but unfortunately, I never got any responses from these people in power, in leadership, and I couldn't expose my solutions. I couldn't get it to be brought to light to everyday South African people.
So the solution is based on what? An economic reform, economic recovery.
You see, this country is a very rich country. Don't be mistaken. We are well endowed with the biggest mineral resources. We've had this very thriving manufacturing sector. I mean, if you take the state-owned entities like Eskom and the infrastructure, the railway network, it was state-of-the-art. I mean, it was world standard, world-class. But it's all deteriorated and collapsed. So at the end of the day, I couldn't continue to watch this unfold, and I felt we needed to do something about it. We thought that between, when the new president came and Ramaphosa was there, the new dawn, and Tuma Mina, I felt like, let's do something.
Yeah, this was this rebirth.
There was this rebirth, there was this excitement, But coming now 5 years into this presidency and 30 years down the line, it's a dream deferred for many South Africans, and we're waking up to this nightmare. So we need to do something. We can't just sit back and complain. We need to do something.
Now, one may ask is, why create or why join a small party? Why not join one of the bigger parties and then infuse this knowledge, this experience, this innovation that you've learned, and bring it into a more a bigger party, an established party?
See, I'm a normal business person. I'm not a famous person. And you don't get the attention. You keep on knocking on doors. Like I'm saying, you go to newspaper articles, you go to the ministers. I went to many seminars hosted by these various media agencies where all these politicians are speaking in big business. And when you talk to them and that, it goes unnoticed. So to the extent that when I didn't get a reply from the presentation I gave to the president in 2022, I decided to, contribute to a golf game where the ruling parties was having their celebration and play golf with the president to be able to discuss the paper I had given him 6 years ago. So unfortunately, it was a short-lived affair. We couldn't complete the game. And I decided to continue because I said, this is the ruling party. We don't want to go and be heroes. So I went to attend the policy conference in July of that year, 2022. And then I went to the December conference, elective conference. Unfortunately, the party is fractured and it is too factionalized to be able to provide the solutions. This is the party that we all voted for. And they gave us our freedom, so we respect the party being the liberator. But I can't we can't fool ourselves to believing that things will change. Now, the only way for me, I had no other choice. We had to join the political landscape. So that's the only reason why I went into the politics. I'm a businessman. But we've come to the conclusion now that politics is too serious a matter to leave to the politicians. So in this election, you can see now there are many different people that have joined in. There's doctors, there's people from the youth, speaking out and saying, listen, we can do this. So give us a chance. And, we've given the ruling party 30 years now. How much more can we? And the state of the country now, it's a make or break, this 2024. We've spoken about it, and you can see all the statistics. We've got to make the change now.
So you have this wide option, and you join Sun.
Yes.
So tell us, because Sun it's their first elections that they contested.
Yes, so through my journey, and as I said, I couldn't come right at the ruling party level. And I went to go visit other parties as well. Some parties, they were not transparent in their funding, and others that said they were transparent, especially like when the Israel-Palestine conflict happened on October the 7th, it exposed them. Because what is happening in South Africa, that the funders dictate the policy of the party. So that's a very scary thing, because they have other hidden agendas, or they want to protect the economic power. So at the end of the day, I couldn't associate myself with that, because I'm coming in there to provide a solution. I'm not looking for a job in parliament or something. I'm trying to come in and make the change. So that's why I couldn't associate with them, and then I had to start looking at smaller parties. Eventually leading up to the Sun Party, which is Sizwe, means nation, and Ummah is the Arabic word for nation, and then nation. So they were a party that was they wanted to show returning to God consciousness under the President Sheikh Said. And their ethos was to transform the marginalized people in society into creating a more just and equitable society. So that reverberated very well with me, because I came from this China that was poor, starving, and how they transformed themselves so that they could end this.
We've already come to the end of this segment. Wow, profound. As we get to the next segment, I want to talk a lot more about Sizwe Ummah Nation, the Sun Party, and what it has to offer for the electorate, immediately after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, and we have Rasheed Gutta of the Sun Party, Sizwe Umma Nation. Now, Rasheed, just before the break, you were talking about the Sun Party and you joining them. So tell us a little bit about the Sun Party and its vision.
You know, a political party needs a lot of resources. So the one difficulty with the party, you know, we talk about small party, but there's a big vision. It wants to transform society, and you need resources to do that. But we need to start to realize that big doesn't mean that is the answer. We've seen it in the current leadership. So I'm saying that through the Sun Party, there's a lot of visionary people there, leaders that want to see a change in society. The main thing about that is that if you take the President Sheikh Said, he lives in the rural area of Harding. They experience the difficulties of pit latrines on a day-to-day basis. So they're having an everyday lived reality. You know, it's not just reading from a textbook. From my side, from an economic side, I was traveling to China. We were small. We saw these opportunities. We were hurdled by the difficulties of, you know, resources, funding, and all of these things. So we've seen it. We've lived it. It wasn't just that somebody came to us and gave us this money, you know, to be able to. You need a lot of financial resources to fight an election.
So tell us a little bit about that right now. This elections, there's about 52 parties, I think, right? And then plus the 11 independents, right? So it's pretty much a lot of competition. And then what I heard that you need around it depends how many people vote, but you need around 50,000 votes to get one seat in parliament. So how have you worked this out? I mean, you are a small party, relatively unknown. Yes, you represent, as you mentioned, God consciousness, Islamic ethos, but we also, as a Muslim population, like 2% of the population. So how are you going to attract the numbers that are required? Because somebody will be watching and saying, if I vote, would that be a wasted vote? And that is a question that people ask to a smaller party like yourself.
Yeah, no, obviously, you know, we have the limitation of resources, but you need to just persevere in doing this. You know, you don't know what was going to be there. The nice thing about South Africa, the great thing we should cherish is that we are a free democracy. How many countries can you see now where people are free to express themselves? I'm known as an Indian from a minority group, but I don't feel that way. I feel like I can be inclusive in the society. So that's one thing that we need to save this. You know, 300 years of oppression. We need to defend this democracy because people are feeling a sense of hopelessness. If you look at the 2019 and 2021 elections, more people stayed at home than went to vote. So we got to bring back the hope for South African people. And you know, with seeing so many parties, we shouldn't look at it as a threat, you know, because they're all coming with different ideas and giving different solutions. So I think if you take the 400 seats in parliament, if some of these parties get 1, 2 seats, you're going to have so many different opinions there, so many different people. So this whole idea that, you know, it must only be controlled by those big parties, I think it's a myth. We can be the solutions. You know, it takes one leader to come out there, and we're not seeing it in the current parties, you know.
So you're saying, I mean, there's diversity, there's a new fresh blood that comes in, there's new ideas that come in, and that's, I guess, what you're trying to say with voting for you, what you will bring to that parliament. You are the #1 parliamentary candidate for Sun Party.
Yes, the party has decided to send me as the #1 person to parliament because of my experience in the economic growth. And in what we have devised is a 100-day plan. You know, if we when we begin office, the first 100 days in office, what will we do? We're going to implement a very stringent structural reform into the society so that we can start the engine of growth. From economic growth can come all the other social reforms in society. So we have a tried and tested economic plan that I didn't create myself. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's been done in all other countries, from America to Germany through the World War. They industrialized themselves. Japan saw this, they followed. And recently the Asian countries like Malaysia and Singapore, now China is the recent one. So we just want to replicate what is there. And we do have, like we said, all the resources in this country. We're also well-centered geographically. We have the BRICS on the east side. We have the EU agreement, which gives us preference for exports, and the AGOA in America. So we have nothing to complain about. I mean, we just need to take action. Now, policies that have been devised by the leadership, like the National Development Plan and all of that, are good policies, but they're not being implemented. So we need to have a very political will, they say, to be able to implement it. And there's a lot of uncertainty in policy with the current leadership. They don't seem to have an idea themselves what they want to do, because they keep conflicting. Now, here we have it, we have the blueprint. And it's a guaranteed to work, because you've seen all these countries, how they've prospered. Success is not a secret, I want to say it again.
Yes, yes. So somebody watching, right, a viewer watching, saying, I'm going to go into that ballot box and I'm going to see the Sun Party. They want a beautiful logo, by the way.
Thanks.
I must say, very refreshing logo. And you going to put a cross next to the Sun Party. What are you going to practically offer that person that then trusts you with that vote?
So the sun is a good metaphor in terms of it gives light, it gives new energy, it rises every day, it gives heat, it gives comfort, it gives growth. So without the sun, nothing can happen. So I think the sun reflects light at the end of a dark tunnel. And I think we should look at it that way. And why vote for us? Being a small party, we have a big vision. We have great leadership. We have aligned ourselves with another church group, which is one of the biggest in the country. It's called the Shembe Church, in the Church of Nazareth. Under the leadership of its president there is Mr. Lizwi Inkwani. He's an advocate, and he was in the NPA and the Scorpions. So he's coming in with that objective of creating justice again in this country. You know, justice delayed is injustice. Sheikh Said has transformed himself. He's a alim. He studied the Quran, and he's very schooled in theology and religion. So he wants to take the marginalized society, people in society, and transform them into a more socially just and equitable society. And with my economic, background, we want to basically provide the leadership that's necessary. You know, our motto is leaders you can trust to be honest and just. That is the logo for Sun Party. I'm going forward to say that, you know, if we can't make the change in the next 5 years, we're guaranteeing the change. There should be no reason why we should fail. Then I'm even prepared to step down and allow someone else to take that. Because I'm not here to just, earn the salary from this job. We have to make the change. Otherwise, we're not needed.
And I mean, it's admirable because you've put, literally, when I say this, you put your money where your mouth is, right? It's not an easy thing to get into. Firstly, a small party, making yourself known, making your policies known, you're creating a manifesto, then getting the right votes, the requisite number of votes. It's difficult. So how do you go about doing this?
I don't want to lie and say that it's a glamorous job. It's very painful, it's tough. But I think belief in the Almighty is very important. And so far where I am, I couldn't have imagined where I would be today. It's a journey that's kind of destined, so I don't feel like I planned this. I just ended up here, and inshallah, if we get that seat in parliament, I'm saying where people are saying, you got one seat, what difference you're going to make? I'm saying that seat is 1,000% better than no seat. Now, when you're sitting in government and you talk to people, they talk of coalitions and all that, but 7 out of 10 issues, we are all the same. Every party, if you look at their manifestos, how different is it really? Everybody wants to create jobs. You want to create employment, industrialization, all these
Safety
things.
and security.
Yeah, I mean, these are all common. So we might disagree on foreign policy and that, So in terms of saying that you got the party that takes you to parliament, but then you got to put on your South African jacket when you're in parliament and you're voting for one party, that's South Africa. And there we can't all disagree because we need to make this country great, and bring back that dream that, our freedom fighters fought for and make them proud, of what it wasn't all in vain.
Look, on that note, that's very profound. You actually have really taken out, out of your comfort zone and have gotten into something and serving. I think that's very important. When we go after the break, then I want to understand now you practically going out on the campaign and what have you experienced that immediately after the break. You are watching Inspirate Business, and it is election time. It's election fever, and we have none other than Rasheed Gutta, who is from the Sun Party. It's a small party. We've been learning all about it. New party, going to be contesting this elections in 2 weeks' time. You were saying to us that politics is not easy. Being able to get your message out there, but you said something very profound. You are being driven by a mission that's greater than yourself. It's almost like I could feel that when you were saying that this is ordained. I think you said it was a destiny. And, Allah puts you at a place, at a specific time to serve. Does this country need leaders like yourself with that experience, with the knowledge and the passion and that honesty and integrity? Oh, most definitely. Now, tell us a little bit about being on the campaign trail. How has that experience been? I guess it's not easy when you're on the ground and seeing what is happening really in South Africa. We can, sometimes they use this thing, parallel universes. I think we live in our comforts of our middle class and upper class homes, and then there's this reality of majority of South Africans.
Yes, in trying to campaign and woo the voters, you've got all these so many parties there. Everybody's saying a similar thing. How do you be above the rest?
Differentiate yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you become the chosen ones? But we've got this. I speak about it. It's called the current pandemic in this country. It's called unemployment, poverty, and inequality. And we say it sometimes unjust because we talk about it. We're so used to the terms. But now none of this is more evident than when you physically go to these villages. We're trying to appeal to the marginalized in society. So we're going out there and we're witnessing how they live. I come from a privileged environment. I come from the city. But when I go there, like I've gone onto the campaign trail in Mahikeng, where I came from, and going to go see how this town has evolved in the last 20 years since I left it. And going to visit these village areas, it coincided with a protest where the people were protesting at the same time because they didn't have water in that village area. So I decided to go and venture into that area and see what the problems were, and see could we provide these solutions. Because if we want to be the leaders and a government in waiting, then we must go and see what can we do and not just talk it. So, to my dismay, when I went there to these places, I couldn't believe that they don't have water. The taps have run dry. For the last 8 years, they don't have water in the taps. And then, you have these deliberate sabotage of the water system so that people have to buy water, in these JoJo tanks and that. So these are unemployed, poor people living in villages with zinc shacks, and they must still buy the water. I mean, what kind of indignity is this? So we as a party, we volunteered to put a bowl in this village, and we're busy now finalizing that.
Excellent.
And to them, it's the world. Now we're complaining about all other things, but these guys don't even have basic services. The current bowls that were there, they've been looted out there. They've stolen the parts, so they don't work. And every time you go to have these water tanks coming in to bring in this day and age, in the 21st century, we're talking of electric cars and all that. These guys don't even have basic services. So that for me has been very, very eye-opening. And
Okay, now somebody watching there, we're coming to the end of the show. Are you on the national ballot paper, Sun Party? Then there's the regional ballot as well, and then you're on the provincial ballot paper as well. Are you contesting all 9 provinces?
so firstly, we on the national ballot paper.
Yeah.
So that will be one separate paper where our logo will appear. And then we've managed to qualify for the 4 provinces.
Okay.
And that is the Northwest Province,
Right.
the Western Cape, the KZN Province, and Gauteng here locally. So that will be for the provincial legislature. And then the third one, which is a new one, which many people don't know much about, but it's a very important regional ballot, where we are in all 9 provinces. So our logo appears in all 9 provinces. And there will also be like 200 seats in parliament will come from that regional. So it's very important, but it's something that the voters don't know about. So I think some voter education needs to be expanded to explain people what are you really voting for in the regional, because it will have a major impact on who goes to national parliament.
So Rasheed, I'm going to vote for you, and if I vote for you, now I'm putting a hypothetical scenario for somebody watching, saying I'm going to vote for you. You will then represent Sun Party in the national parliament. You the #1 candidate. What do you envisage? How will you be able to impact in parliament?
Your vote is an entrustment to me. So I have to be accountable, and I have to take that responsibility. I can't come and say, no, we are minority. If I go there, I have to make the change. And I have to influence others that might not agree to the current policies that we've spoken about. We know that they are tried and tested. We're saying that after 5 years, South Africa must be in a better place than where we found it today. Otherwise, we have failed. And then we don't deserve to be there. So my efforts, although small in number, is a bigger vision of speaking and influencing all these leaders there to make sure that we have a good country. So,
of course, people are talking a lot about coalitions dependent on what happens in terms of votes and whatever. How do you see that working out?
as we said, 7 out of 10 issues are common to everyone. We're open to coalitions, but at the end of the day, when we get to that parliament, we now representing South Africa. And we need to make sure that we do what's good for this country. So I don't think there can be much confusion and disagreements on that. And
we've got about a minute left. It's your opportunity now to, give a message to our viewers as to what you can offer in simple terms.
Look, we are committed as a party. We want to bring about change, and we're pleading with South Africans to give us an opportunity to be able to show what we can do. It's a 5-year term. If you're not happy with us after that, vote for another party. But the current leadership have been given 30 years. We're not asking for much. 5 years is a short time. And with the credible track record that our leadership has at the moment, in terms of the Sheikh Saeed and the advocate in Kwani, we all have different expertise so that we can be able to create this just and equitable society.
And with your strong economic experience and the model that you can provide this country, I think that is very refreshing. We've come to the end of this intriguing show. It's been an absolute honor on behalf of the Inspirate Business Show to have you here. I know you're on the campaign trail, and it's been, I know, difficult to get you, but it's been an absolute honor, and we wish you all the best in your endeavors. It is admirable that you have taken out of business and got into politics and now want to impact. These are the leaders that we need in this country, servant leaders, people that are passionate about growing this country.
Thanks very much for that, Yusuf. It's indeed a great honor for me to be here. But I just want to leave one more message to the viewers.
Go ahead.
Please go and cast your vote on the 29th of May to be able to make a difference. The recent elections have shown that more people are staying at home. We can't bring about change if you don't vote.
On that powerful note, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.